Hello, friends, and welcome to the mothership. I'm your commander, General Lax Sivrak, and I am on this shelf, but not in my Lax Sivrak form, in my born identity. What? Anyway, hey, I wanted to make a quick video, and I'm really going to try to make this one quick. We're just going to go through these things on this shelf, and I'm not going to waffle too much. These are a small sample of my Playmobil, vintage, mostly vintage Playmobil. There's at least two up here that are not vintage that I bought actually recently, which are probably from 1993, which are at least antiques, right? If they were cars, they'd get a special license plate. But anyway, I just thought we'd go through these real quick. These are not all of my Playmobil. These are just some of my favorite. Whether they've been my favorite since I was a kid or whether I've found a new love and respect for them lately. We have, before we start this real quick, we're still sorting Playmobil. Okay, and this used to all be kind of like set up. If y'all saw my collecting life with Stu, I had a lot of shit in boxes for a long time, and Stu was really the one who was like, hey man, I'd like to see some of your shit. And I was like, oh yeah, fuck man, I would too actually. But so here's some stuff, okay? Now these red dudes do not go with this wagon. The guys that actually came with this wagon I display on the shelf that I just showed you, but I don't like my Confederate troopers to be logistics cargo hauling troops, you know. I'd rather them be like cavalry guys or fucking Louisiana Wheats Tigers or something. But here's some Union soldiers, which are cool. That's one of the greatest that's one of the best horses before they upgraded to these new horses, I guess, that look very realistic, but painted blanket and everything. I'm not going to try to touch it. This isn't fair. Those are both fairly new figures. I think you can find those actually on Amazon now for cheap. But the rest of this on this shelf is vintage. These cannons might have been, I don't remember if those came with these red guys or not. These red guys in these uniforms, that's a fairly famous set that you see sometimes. We have Fort Glory. All this is a mess. Now look, this is what I have left. I'm still sorting stuff. And I used to have a fuck ton of knights. And I used to have a bunch of, and I'm talking vintage, 74 and 76, pirates and knights, like that guy. This pirate does not have a thing on the bottom. Maybe it's because he has bare feet. I never... And then there's a bunch of pieces and parts for this fort on the internals, right? Hey, we got the laser fucking exhaust cut through the wall. There's a nice louver on the other side that I installed. But look how many more walls there are. I have a fuck ton more. This Fort Glory, which I don't think is the biggest fort. That motherfucker I have a bunch more walls for, right? That thing could be much bigger than I could handle for this shelf. But anyway, let's go back to the reason. And I'm trying to like quickly pan because my place is a mess, you guys. I'm trying to make this place so I can work, right? And I'm trying to put stuff in here because when I bought this house I did not have a wife and 2 children. I was a bachelor who was just having raging sex parties. And I had a lot of shit in storage. But anyway, now look, my old lady, she put my shit in boxes and says, you need to take this out to the shed. And it's like, no, motherfucker, my shed is not a storage unit for shit you don't want in your house. I'm trying to work in here. And I just am trying to display some of my toys in here. Not just toys, I guess it has some other stuff. But I collect a lot of different stuff. But anyway, hey, let's go through these figures. This is one of my favorite Indians, this first guy. You notice he does not have this little, see this thing between that Indian's legs? This guy does not have it. And the reason he came like that, it's not broken, is he actually came with this fella in this canoe. and you can't have that thing between your legs. This is the same fella he came with. That's vintage. This is the same fella. But anyway, that's the... Oh, hold on, I'm lost. Okay. That's why this guy has nothing between his legs, unlike... we'll see, that guy has nothing between his legs. But you'll see that later. Also note his face paint. You'll see that that's... These fucking figures are great. This is a knight. I'm not super, like, in love with this guy for any reason, but that's an original vintage shield. All that's vintage. And the chrome on it. And it kind of all is slightly like a match, right? Because he's yellow. So he's up here. They used to have yellow feathers, too. And that should have a third feather in it. Here's what they would call, like, you know, a generic Indian in the brown. Okay, everything you've seen up until now is vintage. These two, I believe you can get on Amazon. Duffman, I'm sending you a fucking one of these. Don't worry, brother. Now this shield, that is a vintage shield. I don't think this guy came with a shield. But these two are not... Well, they're 1993s, I think they say on the bottom. But you can buy them today on Amazon for like 20 bucks. Here's some more Indians. Now you notice these brown guys, like, are they the same brown guy or did they paint them the same? Because, like, the red shirt Indians, the red shirt natives here, they have different face paints. And see, that guy's got the two, that guy's got the two, that guy's got the two. Here's a bowman. And this guy has moccasins. Oh, there's also lots of other accessories we're not really going over, but, like, see those moccasins snap over the figure, right? And then here's some trim. And then here's a guy with nothing on his feet, right? And then you can get these things that go around there, these cuffs. And there's different styles of cuffs. He has two different styles of cuffs. This is a vintage horse, not necessarily a vintage figure. I think this is like maybe a 93, also a 1993 figure. Vintage horse, though. Okay, so that's the first shelf we got. And that's obviously natives. This is a vintage 70s knight. And all vintage 70s original accessories. Now I'm going to regret doing this because this might fall over, but this visor, oh god damn. Look at this. Oh shit. Look at that. So that visor is articulated. Let me see if I can't. I thought maybe I should have turned my... I'm hand holding this. How about that? That's not bad. So yeah, see the articulation on that visor? That's cool. Alright, another one of my favorite Indians. I think this guy is also has nothing between his legs like these other Indians, but I think this one broke because I wanted to put him on this horse. And that is one of the most awesome native horses that Playmobil made, at least vintage. I'm moving this guy because he's wrecking the... So some of these knights, like especially the knights, right? Like maybe back when I was a kid they were my favorite knights. But I've since lost love for knights, but they're back up on this good shelf because they are vintage and they, you know, I don't know. I might even actually sell some of these knights and to fund some more cowboys and Indians. Look at that horse though, with his war paint. Isn't that fucking badass? And then here's another brown shirt native with his the blue dashes. Here's a red shirt with different paint on the face than this guy, but this guy has the same paint as this guy. So we got two red shirts the same, and then we have a third red shirt that we found that has different face paint. But all these brown shirt guys have the same paint so far. And the same patterns. This guy I got just recently on a Mailuron mail run. Check that video out. I've never had this guy. This guy's cool. This is a vintage character. I don't know what set this is from. If you know, let me know. Here's another favorite. Who's your favorite native? I don't know. I really like the ones with these bear claw necklaces. You can change that necklace, right? That's an accessory. That necklace and that necklace, you can switch those. These are amazing figures. You can change the hair. If they, you know, you can change the hats. You can change every accessory you see. I had to put that down for a second. Here is a mountain lion, which is like 89 vintage. It's not 70s vintage. And then a native drum. Hey, 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 how are you? Hey, how are you? Not too pretty bad. That's an Indian joke. Here is our gold miner. Now these shells, my old lady got me the shelf. They're pretty cool, but they are shorter than... They're like, hey, put your 3.75 action figures on there, and they won't work. But these mules fit right in that little slot. So there's the gold miner. Here's the gold miner. I think I've changed, obviously, his hat. And I don't know if he was bearded like that. But these are, my characters. I've customized... Not customized in any way except swapping shit. Like they're made to be swapped, So... I also have the sluice box. I have a whole bunch of this gold miner set. I had the sluice box up here if you saw my Instagram post, but I've been changing this around, They're so fun to do. This little group of guys are some of my favorites from when I was a kid, and these guys were always like the working guys, you know what I mean? Like these were the dudes that your dad and his friends or some shit, like hard ass motherfuckers, but like this guy, I think this guy was a pirate, this guy with this hook. But he's a logger to me, and he has a peg leg. And then this guy just recently got this hat. That's not a vintage hat, but he looks kind of cool on this overall dude. And then this guy with the mustache is kind of plain, but these are all vintage. But he was always a favorite one of mine. He was like, when I played like John Wayne with these, that guy was always like John Wayne's buddy. And then of course, again, the miner. And the miners are being robbed by the bandits. Which this is a set. This is not complete, and these two guys may not. I'm not exactly positive. This guy in all black and this horse and most of all this bandit shit he's wearing, that's from a set. Pretty sure this is his buddy, and I think these guys should all have scarves over their mouths. But I put these. Man, I don't remember what they call that. You remember in Joe Kidd, the Clint Eastwood movie, which is. Everybody loves Clint Eastwood, right? And everybody loves Clint Eastwood movies, but nobody talks about Joe Kidd. Joe Kidd was one of his best fucking movies. But do you remember the fucking the Mexican revolutionary guy who had that thing around his neck that looked like Kermit the Frog? And also remember the Grateful Dead teddy bears wear those things around their neck. What is that? Anybody know? Let me know. I have a sister that was a deadhead, but I'm not that old, so... What are those collars about? I think those are cool as fuck. But yeah, here's some bandits. Alright, so let's move down to the next shelf. I'm going to get this light back because I'm hand holding all this. So, okay, so here are my Confederate soldiers. Which are kind of fucking rare to find nowadays. But I think they're cool. They're definitely rare. These are not as old as some of these Indians and some of this other shit, but these are probably the most expensive and rarer Playmobiles of this era and of this subject matter. I'm not an expert on knights and pirates, though I know people I do know that sometimes they command more money because they are much more loved than Western, But yeah, so we got they always gave you a ginger, no matter what the military group was. Yankees, Confederates, blue coats, red coats, French, everybody had a ginger. And I always gave him the bugle, because he's supposed to be the kid, right? I don't know. And then there's something I made this guy look like General Lee as best I could. The actual, not the car. Robert E. Lee. And I can't remember. Robert E. Lee's horse was famous, and he had a name. I can't remember. Can anybody name any famous horses? Of course, Hi-Ho Silver was the Lone Ranger. Everybody knows that, even if you didn't watch Westerns. But does anybody remember Gene Autry's horse's name? I think his name was Champ. So anyway, yeah, and then here's some sort of I don't know, but he's got like a mustache, so he must be like that. Must be from like New Orleans or something. Like Yeah, I'm here. I don't know. And then this guy is, I don't know who this guy is, but I fucking dig this look. And he's like a musketeer, like a real musketeer, not the one from not the misnomenclatured swordsmen who are called musketeers who don't have muskets. And then this is supposed to be like my Jeb Stuart. He's got the hat up cocked on the side. That's like my Jeb Stuart. And then this is like my cutthroat Wheats Tigers guy who sometimes wears this hat when he wants to be a French zouave. But this guy's wearing it now because he is Pasquinel from the James Michener novel Centennial. So, but this guy and this guy switch. Well, he doesn't give him his Confederate hat, but sometimes his red hat goes on him. This is the sergeant. I don't know his name, but this is like the big broad-soldiered, the guy who fucking gets people in order. Here's some explosive dynamite. Here's some shit they keep the guns in. And now we're on to the final shelf. I'm going to put this down. I'm going to switch hands. Excellent workout. I've just extended my arm straight out. Both arms, one holding a light and one holding the phone for 16 minutes. That's not bad, huh? I've been losing my wind and my mouth's been hurting lately, people. I don't know. I chewed Copenhagen snuff since I was about 6 years old. And that's my dad's and grandfather's fault. But I have quit, and I'm not doing it anymore, and I haven't done it for, I don't know, at least 6 months. But I fear it's not too late. But yeah, for 30 years I've been doing that shit. Anyway. I don't know why that's any of y'all's business or why you give a fuck. But anyway, hey, back to these vintage Playmobil. Check this out. So this is a vintage canoe. This, like I said, this set is this guy who comes blonde with the coonskin cap with this native shirt. He comes in this canoe with these paddles with this native here. And that's an original set. But I have them split up. This is Pasquinel and his wife Clay Baskett's father. What was his name? Lame Beaver. If you've never seen the made-for-TV serial Centennial by James Michener or read the book, fucking what are you doing with your life? It's very interesting, and it's generally, I would say it's actually like the history of Colorado as seen through, certain characters. But of course the history of Colorado is going to have a lot to do with motherfucking Indians and trappers and fucking the West expanding and the natives fucking fighting the U.S. government. It's great. Read the book. The book is as thick as a fucking Bible. If you're not into that, go rent like it's fucking 1987. Go find they made it into a TV movie, a serial like Lonesome Dove, and it is like 12 hours. But they showed it, every, a couple nights a week for a few months back in the day. And it was great. Alright, let's go down. These are definitely these are my top favorite. Not everybody on this shelf, but so here's Pasquinel. I love this canoe. Here's my trapper dude. His hand broke years ago. Okay, this is Lame Beaver, Pasquinel's father-in-law. His hand broke years ago. I found this on Etsy for Brooks' sakes, which is the same guy, and he was original, so I bought him. So I had one with a good hand. So this is the one I had since a child. This is one I just bought. Same guy. Then I moved down. This is my, if you've ever seen Robert Mitchum and Richard Widmark in, is it Wagons Westward or something? Anyway, it's Richard Widmark and Robert Mitchum, and they're going on a wagon trail, and Robert Mitchum is the guide. And, it's a great fucking film, you guys. I wish I could think of the movie. Who else is in it? Is Kirk Douglas is in it, and he's like the wagon master who's paying, Anyway, what the fuck is the name of that movie, you guys? Anyway, that's my Robert Mitchum from that movie. With his bear claw necklace and his very, minimalistic, he was like a white dude who married a native woman, and then she ended up dying, and like he was over with his life. And then the Kurt Douglas character came because this guy was the greatest guide in the history of the United States or whatever, you know. And so he convinced him to get up off his ass and live again, and let's go across the country. And it's like the story of the first real wagon train across to Oregon. Great movie. These two guys are not super vintage. I think they came in a set, but these are definitely. This is me, and this is my brother. This is my brother. And his name is Henry. I love you, brother. I hope you're still alive. You'll always be fucking alive in my heart, my brother. But hey, this was us. I shared a picture one day in a, depression stupor. I shared a picture of me and my brother Henry in the wilderness of Alaska. Gilster, you commented on that picture in that Monkey Lizard Army chat and said, wow, that's a cool photo. But if anybody does remember that, that's Henry. And I haven't seen him in a long time, and I haven't heard from him in a long time. I would think if he died or something, he would tell me. But when people die and shit happens, he's the one that tells me, so. But I'm sure somebody would say, oh my God, we gotta let him know. Anyway, this is my sheriff. He was always my John Wayne as a kid. And that's why he gets the prestige of the brown horse. And of course he has the pistol and the rifle, which is, like Rooster Cogburn, who had one eye, but, this is like this is my Cahill U.S. Marshal fucking John Wayne, which is if you like John Wayne or pretend to like John Wayne, or if you pretend to like Westerns and Clint Eastwood is the only person that you can name and you think he's the greatest, fucking A, watch some goddamn John Wayne, watch some Glenn Ford, watch some Robert Mitchum, watch an entire plethora of fucking people who are far superior Western cowboys than fucking Clint Eastwood. Jesus Christ. I like Clint and everything, but motherfuckers, Clint Eastwood is Dirty Harry. Clint Eastwood is Dirty Harry. Clint Eastwood is not a cowboy. Glenn Ford's a fucking cowboy. Fucking Burt Lancaster is more of a cowboy than Clint Eastwood. I'm sorry. I like Clint, but expand your fucking horizons if you think Clint Eastwood's spaghetti westerns is the pinnacle, most amazing thing of westerns. You're ignorant. And I don't mean that in a mean way. Ignorance can be fixed, but only if you want to fix it. These two guys are super vintage, 1974. I don't know anything more than that. This guy, I never gave a shit about any of these pieces, but I just found them today and realized, wow, this is obviously a set. And so I put them all together. Now, this shield may not go with this, because that looks different, right? But they're all close enough. And I'm sure Sonny, if Sonny, our German friend from Germany, who now lives in Australia, is watching, which he's probably not, but can you explain to me anything about these symbols? Are they real? They do look very German to me. But that eagle's something everybody used, right? I mean, to me, that's a German imperial eagle. But now that I say something now, now that could be a raven, but like, is this German and this is Russian or something? Or I don't even know. Or is Playmobil just making it all up? I don't know. There's a siren. I'm going to give you one more quick pan, because I said this is going to be a quick video and I lie to you guys all the time. Please forgive me. But those are my natives. I don't want to go too fast. My native brothers up here have always been and will always be my favorite, excluding this knight here. I don't know what the fuck he's doing up there, but I put him up here really for that video. If anybody's interested in any of my knights or vintage pirates, I'd be willing to sell them, or preferably trade them for some vintage, and they don't have to be vintage necessarily, but anything between 1974 and even modern. But these cowboys and Indians and mountain men and trappers, these are what I'm into. I also like Confederate soldiers for whatever reason. I know they tore down all their monuments and stuff, which is like, whatever, dude. The Nazis burned books, and you can't talk about World War II in places over there, they say. I don't know. That's what they tell us. There's some people in our community who jumped on my ass about me asking that. I asked that. I said, is that true? And this one motherfucking asshole was like, oh, you fucking Americans are so stupid and ignorant. And like, first of all, I asked a question, and like, yeah, that's propaganda they maybe say over here, but that's the beauty of the internet, right? Like, I literally was talking to a person who was, 50 years old, lives in Germany, and I wanted to ask him, hey, for real, what's the deal on that? Because if you watch Jorg Sprav, who is, I don't know if you know Jorg Sprav, but he's German, and he has a cool channel, and if you know him, then that's cool. If you don't know him, I'm not necessarily going to shout him out because he's like a rich millionaire motherfucker. He don't need Lack Sivrak shouting him out. But my point is that he's German, and he talks somewhat about World War II in a historical sense, and he talks about how careful he has to be doing it. So it was just a question. And this guy was a real fucking asshole to me about it, which I don't understand. But there is, I don't know, I think anti-American sentiment is obviously a popular thing in some instances, which is really ridiculous, Clumping a group of people in together for any reason is kind of fucking ignorant and stupid, isn't it? Especially if one of them is asking a valid question, not to you, about something that he may have been misinformed about because he wants to learn. How about that? Fucking haters. So anyway, yeah, hey, if you're interested in any knights like that guy, or this guy, or that other guy we looked at, I also have a couple pirates. If you like any of that and you want to trade for some cowboys and Indians, let me know. This has been General Lack Sivrak. I appreciate everybody in the community. I appreciate y'all who like, share, and subscribe. I appreciate you guys who have subscribed and don't really care about me, but you've left your subscription up. That's nice. I have 138 subscribers now. The giveaway, go sign up for that giveaway because we're about to shut it down and then we're going to have it. What are we going to give away? We're not sure yet. We might have a stream about that. Y'all talk to me. Let me know what's going on. I have no problem with shipping it to whoever wins. I mean, wherever you live. Rusty Pump, Wyoming, or buttfuck Yorkshire. I don't care. So, anyway, much love and respect to all my friends out there. You fucking cocksucking assholes who don't care about Lack, that's fine. We don't give two thoughts about you any time of the day. And when we do see you around, we go, wow, what a chump. And everything you do sucks. Have a good one, everyone. We're going to close with this little group of 4. These are my dudes right here. Alright. As the fish wheel turns, Lack Sivrak, out.